That sounds great. Well, then, so what we should do is. What is in the need of a bottle, something like that. Questions and concern, please. We could say that. Please do not. Let me look at it. And then because, yeah, we don't like that. Because all right, take a deeper dive, and then we should talk about it. Yeah. We have to change it. Oh, okay. So. I went to Maria. That's why you. Just like everybody else. Yes. I would do that, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, but then it's like that. I think it's all true. How's it going? That'd be good.
My girlfriend's brother, grandsons.
I don't grab this and not make it the rest of it. I love these little ones. I used to carve, I just, they're all like, I'm ready to go. Yeah, I love that. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna bring you one next time. Oh, sure. Yeah, that's okay. Oh, okay. I haven't didn't know about it now, so I remember as I'm going through the room, what did I do this? Did I do that? Yeah. Yeah, plus it knows to get me through the day.
Yes.
I'm gonna let them know, but she's gonna do that.
There's no.
Oh, okay, that's the question. I'm sure. All right. Good afternoon. I'd like to call a meeting to order, please, for the Behavioral Health Advisory Board General Meeting for Monday, May 20th, 2024. And I would like to have our interpreters to please come up to the podium and give us the guidelines in English and Spanish, please. Perhaps they step down for a moment. Give it a second, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Those in Zoom that would like interpretation into Spanish, please select your preferred language in the box. At the bottom of your screen, please select the language even if you're bilingual so you don't miss anything. Para aquellas personas en español que desean escuchar la interpretación en español, favor de seleccionar su idioma, pero de preferencia aún si no son bilingües, para que no se pierda nada. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. All right. Jackie, oh, we're gonna do roll call first. All right, James, would you please call the roll, please? Thanks.
Yes. Do you want district appointment as well?
Right, yes, thank you for reminding me. BHAB members, if you would please mention your district and your supervisor when your name is called, please. Thank you.
Soledad Bargon. Paulina,
Present, my name is Soledad Barragán y estoy representando el distrito 5 y también a nuestra comunidad.
Nancy Borchert. Absent. Dean Brooking. Absent. Kevin Clarisi. Kevin Clarisi,
I think he'll be here. We haven't heard otherwise.
Jim Espinoza, present, District 4, appointed by Janice Harlan, also the veteran representative and what's the committee chair?
Prevention Committee.
Prevention. All right, Genevieve Flores Carl. Genevieve,
We haven't heard that she's not attending.
Cheryl Heitman,
Present on District 1, Elevators District.
CJ Keating,
Here.
Supervisor Matt Levere, absent. Nomi Marufo. Nomi Marufo. Present.
Haven't heard that she's not attending today.
Kevin Parisi is present. Diane McKay,
President Area 2,
Jennifer Morrison,
President James Carmen, District 4.
Dahlia Rocket,
District 4, Supervisor Dennis Patton.
Michael Rodriguez,
President, District 5.
Elizabeth Stone,
We haven't heard that she's not attending.
Chris Tejeda,
Hi, President, District 4. Thank you.
Marlon Torres, absent. Liz Warren,
Present District 5, Supervisor Vivian Lopez.
and Janice Gardner.
Present in Supervisor Correll's office, district.
So we have
Perfect, so we have a quorum. Jackie, were there any roll call, I'm sorry. Were there any, requests for emergency services or, just cause? Okay, thank you.
that's kind of 12, just so we're good.
Well,
Yes, I needed to include myself.
oh, well, that's a good job. Okay, thank you. All right, may I have a motion to approve today's agenda, please?
Motion to approve.
Second. Are there any changes or comments about today's? I'm sorry. Okay, Jackie, did you get that Liz Warren made the motion and Diana Kay seconded it?
Thank you, I got it now.
Thank you. All right, if we're going too fast, let me know. Okay, so are there any changes or comments about today's agenda? All right, hearing none. James, would you call roll call, please?
Yes. Soledad Barragán,
Yes. Yes.
Kevin Clarisi,
Yes.
James Espinoza, yes. Cheryl Heitman,
Yes.
CJ Keating,
Yes.
Diane McKay,
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Dahlia Rocket,
Sorry, yes.
Michael Rodriguez,
Yes.
Chris Tejeda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
and Janice Gardner.
Yes. Thank you. The motion is passed as written and the agenda is approved as written. I'm so sorry. I'm not very much on my game this morning. I had something happened this way, so I'm just, I'm fine, thank you. Okay, may I have approval of April 15th, 2024 minutes, please? Approval of the minutes. Second. Okay, Diane approved and Cheryl seconded it, thank you. Are there any changes to the minutes or any comments? All right, hearing none, would you call roll call, please, James?
Yes. Soledad Aragon.
Me voy a abstener porque no estuve yo ese día.
Kevin Parisi.
Yes.
Jamie Espinoza, yes. Cheryl Heitman,
Yes.
CJ Keaveney,
Yes.
Diane McKay,
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Dahlia Rudkin,
Yes.
Michael Rodriguez,
Yes.
Krista Heda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
and Janice Gardner.
Yes. All right. Minutes are approved as written. Thank you very much. All right, are there any public comments this afternoon? Okay, I know that we have a couple of public comments on an agenda item, but we'll wait until that agenda item. All right. Next, we will be ending the public comment period on the Mental Health Services Act, MHSA, now called BHSA, annual update for fiscal year 2023-24, April 15th, 2024 through May 20th, 2024. And before we vote on the ending of this comment period, I'd like to have Courtney Rubel come up. She has some good comments to make. Good afternoon. My name is Courtney Rubel, and I'm the new MHSA manager, soon to be BHSA, but not until July 1st, 2026. So just to mention briefly, as Janice noted, the annual report was published or posted on April 15th through May 20th as part of the local review process. We currently have 2 comments from public members, and after I finish my brief summary, we'll hear from those members from the public if they are here and would like to speak. To provide a summary of the changes that were made during this time, we made the following. Due to a number of county and departmental changes, some of the previously approved project monies are being reallocated to other projects that still fall within the 3-year plan as noted. Additionally, a community planning process took place for the next round of innovation funding. A public call for submissions took place in January, inviting anyone with an innovative approach to mental health to apply for a grant. We had a total of 38 submissions, and a work group was assembled with 18 participants across the county who voted on the top 3 proposals. That's an overview. The annual plan does have additional documentation which notes with more specificity some of the changes that were made and were summarized here. So I'll leave it now over to the public comments. Okay, we have 2 public comments. If you could keep your public comments to 3 minutes, please. And is Sharon Elman Stop? Yes. Okay. And is Petra here? Okay, all right. Please go to the podium if you would. Thank you. Okay. I didn't time this, so you can just play the music too long. Good afternoon, board members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Sharon Elmensdorf. I am with First 5 Ventura County, the director for our Neighborhoods for Learning program.
So I'm just going to read the letter that I submitted this morning. So thank you for the opportunity to provide a public comment on the MHSA annual update. On behalf of First Five Ventura County, I would like to start by commending the board of Ventura County Behavioral Health on the completion of a comprehensive and well-written annual update. It is clear from the report that PCBH has taken a thoughtful, data-driven, and evidence-based approach to its programming that appears to be having a positive effect in our community. Given this context, I would like to respectfully suggest that thought be given to the specific allocation of future funds for programming that supports our youngest population and their families. Given the extensive research on the role of toxic stress and trauma on development and long-term health and social outcomes, it is critical that we reach children and families early in life for programs to have the most significant impact. The biology of stress tells us that healthy development can be derailed by excessive or prolonged activation of stress response systems in the body and the brain, with damaging effects on learning, behavior, and health across the lifespan. Research shows that ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, and associated toxic stress can detrimentally affect a child's neurobiological and physiological development. And then the more ACEs a child experiences, the more likely they are to suffer from harmful health and social conditions. The emergent body of evidence on the COVID-19 pandemic underscores the devastating effect it had and continues to have on families with young children. With respect to behavioral mental health, public schools have seen a huge jump in behavioral concerns such as aggression, elopement, self-injurious behaviors, and defiance, particularly among preschool, transitional kindergarten, and kindergarten ages. Recent data from our own First Five Ventura County programs for children ages 0 to 5 have revealed that between 30 to 40% of our children exhibit developmental or behavioral concerns, as identified by external agencies, with many more parents reporting behavioral challenges that are impacting their family routines and everyday functioning. Empirical literature shows the efficacy of early detection screenings and evidence-based interventions in reducing negative outcomes and equipping children with the requisite skills for school and life success. Regrettably, there is currently a dearth of services in Ventura County tailored to families of young children. We need a diverse set of evidence-based strategies and programs across tiers of support that families of young children can access to support positive long-term outcomes. First Five Ventura County recognizes that the onus of providing such comprehensive services cannot rest solely on one agency or program, and hopes for collaborative engagement between PCPH and stakeholders within their early childhood community to address this burgeoning need. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Patrick, would you like to come up?
Sure.
Good afternoon, members of the board, staff. Thank you for the opportunity this afternoon. My name is Pedro Pulse. I'm the Executive Director at First Five Ventura County. And I'm very pleased to provide comments today as part of the public hearing for the MHSA annual update. In case you don't know, First Five Ventura County is a local public agency. We were established back in 1998, similar to our behavioral health advisory boards. We are funded by Proposition 10, which is a tax on tobacco products. And so we are responsible for administering those revenues. And we do so by investing in locally developed resources and systems that improve the health and education for our youngest Californians from prenatal to age 5 and their families. Thank you again for the opportunity to review the annual update to the plan and for the important work that you're doing. The plan describes the community planning process to gather feedback about programs and services funded through MHSA, including a wide range of prevention and early intervention services. We're particularly pleased to see funding for Triple P, the positive parenting program, included in your plan for services in East County. I would like to elevate the importance of focusing on early childhood population-based prevention programs for 0 to 5 as identified in Proposition 1. Brain research clearly tells us that the first 5 years of a child's life are critical for developing lifelong social, emotional, and learning skills. Babies are born wired to form relationships with the caregivers and connect with the world around them. And those connections and relationships form the foundation for all future development, including their social and emotional development in the context of family, culture, and community. When that foundation and those building blocks crack or aren't strong, the risks to infants and toddlers' well-being exist. In some circumstances, mental health and developmental disorders can occur even in the early months and years of a child's life. The mental health and well-being of parents, caregivers is crucial to the well-being of infants and young children. The earlier we can recognize, support, and address problems, the better able we are to prioritize each child's unique potential, which in the early childhood field, we call that infant early childhood mental health. Infant early childhood mental health is developing capacity in the infant and young child to form close and secure relationships, experience, manage, and express a full range of emotions, and explore the environment and learn all in the context of family and community. By promoting the social and emotional health of infants and young children, we have the potential to positively impact the trajectory of the child's life. We're very excited to see an increased focus on upstream primary and universal prevention, and we look forward to working with this group and the rest of the county wellness system on identifying and serving the needs of infants and toddlers. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And I wanted to mention that your letters, your public comment letters will be included in the packet from this month's meeting. In the minutes for when it's sent out next month. Thank you. Next. All right. We have a time certain presentation. Oh, what did I miss? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, may I have a motion to close, to end the 30-day public comment period on the Mental Health Services Act annual update for fiscal year 2023-24, April 15th, 24 through May 20th, 2024. May I have a motion, please? Yes.
Hi, before you get there, I just wanted to make a board comment. May I do that as part of this process?
Can we wait until it's seconded?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Sure. Yeah, okay. So, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Okay, Kevin Clarisi made the motion and Diana Kay seconded it. Okay, now, are there any comments or statements?
As a matter of fact, I'm sorry about that, I jumped the gun. I just wanted to go on record and publicly acknowledge the extraordinary work that was done as part of the CPP planning process regarding the innovations projects. I was invited to be part of that 18-member work group, and it was a phenomenal process. It was really, really good. We had a chance to look at all 38 proposals in a very in-depth meeting that went on for quite a while, and it was very thoughtful exchange and discussion. And I have to say the proposals that came from the community were outstanding. And we've never, to my knowledge, received that many proposals. And so it was just a pleasure, and it was very hard to narrow it down to 3 top innovation recommendations and 3 top programs. So I wanted to acknowledge the MHSA team and Hillary Carson for her work, and just say it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Really, it was terrific.
Okay, thank you. All right, James, would you call roll, please?
Yes. Salvador, Martin.
Yes.
Sorry, there's lots of absences, so I'm trying to make sure I get the names right.
Take your time.
Kevin Clarisi,
Yes.
James Espinoza, yes. Cheryl Heckman,
Yes.
CJ Keating,
Yes.
Diane McKay,
Yes.
Jennifer Morrison,
Yes.
Dahlia Rodkin,
Yes.
Michael Rodriguez,
Yes.
Chris Tejeda,
Yes.
Liz Warren,
Yes.
and Janice Gardner.
Yes. Okay, motion is passed. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, next we have the time certain presentation from the Ventura County Therapeutic Inmate Management Unit, commonly known as TIMU. And I'd like to welcome Deputy Ryan McClashen and Deputy Jonathan Aguilar and Meadow. Back to the podium, please.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us today. Those of you that we have not had the chance to meet, I am Deputy Ryan McClashen. I've been a member of the Sheriff's Office for about 3 years now. Currently a member of our Therapeutic Inmate Management Unit. It's my partner, Jonathan Aguilar. Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan Aguilar. I've been a deputy for the Ventura County Sheriff's Office for 2.5 years. And
Deputy McGlash and I actually went to the academy together, so we've worked together for a long time, and this is Canine Mellow, our newest therapeutic canine on the park.
Jackie, you can move to the next slide, please. All right, so we'll dive right into it. You may have heard about our unit before, but what is the therapeutic inmate management unit? Basically, we are a group of deputies that are specialized in dealing with our most difficult population in a custody setting, which is those individuals that are suffering from mental illness. Jackie, do you want to just kind of move through these as we go? We're going to try and make this quicker than it usually is. And so as you can see here, our main objective or our goals as a unit are to get these individuals out of their cells for the most amount of time as possible. By doing that, we increase their socialization that help hopefully get them, ready to enter the community again once they get out of our care. A big part of this is also going to be getting them on board with the medication regimen so that, when they come into our custody, they might not be used to taking medication. And so that's something we harp on because obviously there's extreme benefits to that. So getting them on medication, out of their cell, just interacting in one way or another with individuals is our main objective here. About collaboration with our stakeholders. So obviously we can't do this by ourselves. We work within a custody setting. But there's a list up here that you can take a look at, which it's crucial towards our success as a unit. We work with District Attorney's Office, the Public Defender's Office, Behavioral Health. Belmont has been a huge help lately. There's a number of other entities that we work with day in and day out. And we actually have bi-weekly meetings in our office, which is what's pictured here, where we get to kind of collaborate and discuss individuals on like real-time basis. So if there's any problematic or certain hot topics that come up, we can just kind of dissect it right there in the moment. And it keeps it's flowing and really it's just a great partnership, and it's allowed us to be very successful.
So the cycle that we were seeing for our mental health individuals in custody prior to the therapeutic inmate management unit looks something like this. A lot of times they come into our custody, they'd be identified and classified as a psychiatric inmate in our custody. Really, they'd be just housed somewhere, and we would hope for positive behavior, but there was no real incentives to them improving their behavior from things like personal hygiene, cell hygiene, keeping their cells and their day rooms clean. So this was kind of the cycle that we saw before we started the unit. And then our next slide, we're actually going to show our current objective on our hope behaviors for these individuals. So now when they come into our custody, they're identified and classified as somebody suffering from mental health. And we as the therapeutic inmate management unit gather as much information as we can on that person, whether it's speaking to our local law enforcement agencies, such as if somebody was brought in by Oxnard or PD, we can ask those officers how that individual is acting in the field to better get to know that person, conduct interviews with that person and our mental health staff to kind of form a game plan as to how to give this person the best possible treatment. We also give creative outlets to these individuals, such as we actually design chalkboards in their cells. So that way, while they're in there, they have more creative outlets to kind of express themselves, right? Whether it's daily affirmations or art projects. They also have access to tablets and a viewing garden that we'll get into a little bit more later on. And then also assigning consistent housing. We have deputies that are assigned to these housing units. It's actually where Deputy McGlash and I came from before we entered the TIMU. Working with these individuals day in and day out, being able to build that rapport, being able to build that trust, it really goes a long way. From then on, we're really creating just a profile on this person, knowing maybe what triggers them, what maybe keeps them safe. That way that we can better really create our own customized plan to this individual, whether it's medication or what time they want to come out of their cells, or their day room program, et cetera. And also we have really neat programs for these individuals, which we'll dive into a little bit more in a few slides from here. They're really just tailoring their housing to best get them out of their cells for the longest amount of time with others. And then not only do we want to give them the best care that we can while they're in custody, but set them up for success with behavioral health discharge planning. So a benefit to having deputies and SSTs assigned to those housing units is they're seeing the same faces day in and day out. Something that we created is called the daily recaps, essentially for the deputies working for 2 days. When the partner comes in for those next 2 days, they don't really know how those individuals were behaving while they were off, while they were out of work, right? Well, with the daily recaps, it's something that's entered in by the assigned housing deputies. That way we know how that person's behaving. Maybe they had something tragic happen at home, so they want more time with the phone, being able to call home. It really just keeps us plugged into our housing units. That way we can know really the ins and outs of how everybody's behaviors have been, how we can improve things.
So as Aguilar mentioned, building rapport is also a huge objective of ours. As you can see pictured here, some of our sections will have individuals that are out programming or socializing for up to 16 hours a day. This gives us the opportunity as a specialized unit. We're not stuck with the day in, day out tasks of working in that housing unit. We have the ability to kind of float in, float out, and it allows us the opportunity to interact with these individuals on a different level. So whether it's just a conversation, if we feel that someone's going through a crisis or experiencing a tough time, sitting down, maybe playing a hand of Uno or something, just again to build that rapport, kind of bring the guard down so they don't get viewed as much as deputies, but more as providers, right? So we can take care of them. And again, it's all part of the therapeutic approach that we're trying to give to them while they're in our care here. So our internal step down program, this was thought of a couple years ago, but it was actually pretty brilliant. Pictured here is our original facility over at the main jail. So I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to come by our new facility at the health and programming unit. It's set up a little differently, but basically here we took advantage of the layout of the facility from section 1, which is where we have every individual that initially gets booked, comes in, they go to housing unit 1 or section 1 rather. They could be coming down off drugs still, not on medication yet, very volatile, unpredictable. So those individuals lots of times are gonna be housed alone by themselves. They're gonna come out for only 1 hour a day in order for us to provide programming time for everyone that's in that section. We have direct line of sight across the section 4, which is again, the end of our step down program, where we have individuals housed that have been with us for a while. They're on medications, they're keeping their personal hygiene clean, they're keeping their cells clean. They're more or less going with the program and doing the things that we're asking of them. And we allow them to all socialize together. All the cells are open. They're out of their cells for up to 16 hours a day. So it provided an incentive for us to not just tell them, but them to see firsthand. Just looking across the hall, you can see if you go with the program and you do what we're asking of you, you can have these benefits as well. So just an advantage of the layout of that facility. We tried to implement that at our new facility as well. It's a little different, but we're still using our internal step down program there.
So like we mentioned earlier with programs that we offer these individuals, one of our most successful programs has been the incentive program. As you can see here on the board, we have different points. It's a point system. So essentially the housing deputies that are assigned to that housing unit will keep track of the individual's behavior, and they will be rewarded points for doing positive things such as cleaning their cell, taking a shower, socializing well with others, maybe helping out cleaning the day room. All of these points are actually tallied up throughout the week, and at the end of the week, they'll have a certain amount of points. And if you can see off to the left there, we have some nice goodies for them, which they can earn with those amount of points. So these snacks, these goodies, these treats, they're all free of charge. It's just to incentivize their behavior, to get them to rack up as much points as possible, socializing with others, staying cleanly. The more that they rack up those points, the more treats that they can earn. And we've seen incredible improvement in behavior in individuals in custody with this. If we can offer somebody even healthy options like a protein bar or sugar-free juice, if that improves that individual's behavior, we're happy to offer that to these individuals. Another program we have is movie days. More recently, it's called movie time with Mello. Mello loves it too. So essentially, the way that we set this up is we have chairs which these people can be securely placed in the chairs, and we'll make some popcorn for them. maybe get their favorite drinks, like a juice, orange juice, something like that. So we'll give them some free snacks, and they can come into this room that we have, this little classroom, and we'll actually play a movie for them. The TIMU, we actually have a Netflix account that we use for these individuals. So as long as it's an appropriate movie under direct supervision by myself and accompanied by a therapeutic canine mellow, these individuals can share a snack, watch a movie with others, and socialize with the therapeutic canine. So it's a really neat program to get them out of their cells, socializing with others, really just doing normal behaviors that people aren't really offered for the most part in custody. So again, these are just some more classes that we offer, right? Anything from art appreciation, you know, a few times we've brought these individuals into these classrooms and created like who can draw the best picture of Mellow, and the winner was able to get a big Hershey's snack bar. We also have other things like music appreciation. Certain people want to listen to certain types of music, right? We can have a certain genre that they want to listen to. We can all bring those individuals in and kind of relive that feeling of being outside of the custody environment. Really, again, this is just all to get these people to be interacting with others, to really prepare them upon their release, so that way they can interact well, reintegrate into society. The socialization classroom itself, it's comprised of 6 chairs. They're actually secured in shackles, so that way they can still interact with each other, yet they're not harmed to the people next to them. Somebody were to show negative behavior for some reason. So it allows us to keep direct supervision over these people while they're able to socialize with others in a friendly environment.
All right, so as we mentioned earlier, this is our new health and programming unit here. Excuse me. One of the cool design features here, you can see all the windows that were incorporated in this facility. We paired that with a color scheme. So as you can see in the back, there's a light green in there. Each section is going to have a different color scheme going with it. They're all going to be of like a light pastel color palette, which was deemed to be soothing and relaxing to them. So between the color palettes that were chosen, the amount of space, as you can see, it's a pretty large section, and the natural light that's in there, it's providing, again, a more therapeutic environment, we feel, for them. As you can imagine, if any one of us was incarcerated, locked up in a cell without windows for long hours, it's going to be detrimental to our mental health, right? So sunlight is very important here. We've also incorporated a viewing garden that's in the back of all of these sections. That's what's pictured on the right there, where you have some nature, right? It can be plants, trees. We have birds that go and play back there, maybe a lizard. It allows them to see something, some life outside of their cell and outside of the facility. And it's really cool. It's something you don't really see in most custody settings. But again, it's just kind of bringing full circle that approach that we're trying to take, rehabilitating them more so than just keeping them confined in custody. We also provide a couple state-funded programs. You may have heard of our early access program and our jail-based competency treatment program. So both of these programs are going to be provided to individuals that are deemed incompetent to stand trial. And in short, what that means is that they don't currently have the wherewithal to ethically go through their trial. So all their court proceedings get put on hold until they can prove that they're up to speed to understand some of those things. So it'll usually begin in our early access program. That's going to be more of a one-on-one approach. They'll meet with a clinician, a psychiatrist, a psychologist on a weekly basis. We'll try to get them on a medication regimen, and we'll review individual worksheets that will discuss their charges, courtroom basics, things of that matter. Some people graduate directly from that program. Some people will graduate and move on to our jail-based competency treatment program. So this is for individuals that might require a little bit more work, a little bit more time. And this is a group setting, so they've been deemed appropriate to be in a group setting with other individuals. Something that's interesting about the jail-based competency treatment program is it's actually co-ed. So if you do come through our facility, it's the only time you'll see males and females interacting with one another. But they again work with the clinicians, psychiatrists, psychologists on a weekly, daily basis. Everything from board games, yoga, meditation, a number of different outlets for them to kind of, again, release some of the stressors of them in feeling in a custody environment. And then they just focus on their courtroom basics, their personal charges, and the forensic material that they're going to need to know to go back to court.
So this is something very recent that we've introduced. It's the discharge planning. Recently, one of our team deputies actually hosted a meeting with different agencies such as District Attorney's Office, the Public Defender's Office, some of our own internalized units such as CIT, Crisis Intervention Training, also including our homeless liaison unit, and of course, Ventura County Behavioral Health. And really, this was our idea. If we could get everybody in the same room to start getting on the same page about how we can best reintegrate these people into society. So we're giving them so many opportunities and so much care in our custody, right? We didn't want to just release these people and unfortunately see them come back into custody. We really want to do our best to really get at that recidivism rate and really try to lower it. The recidivism rate we feel is just, it's too high for those who suffer from mental illness. We're just seeing the same individuals come back into custody, so we wanted to do our best to try to lower that. And really discharge planning is our most proactive way of trying to give these people the best possible success once they are outside of our custody, such as keeping them on their medications once they're in the programs, giving them internship and employment opportunities, really just giving them the best opportunity possible. And this is our newest member of the team. Want to say hi, Canine Mello? So he's the newest therapeutic canine on the department. We previously had Canine Rocky, who just recently retired. So Canine Mello and I took over back in October. Really, the job that Canine Mello and I are taking on is starting the animal assisted therapy program, which recently just started a few weeks ago. It's actually the first animal assisted therapy program for mental health inmates in the state of California. So it's a groundbreaking program. Essentially, we're offering different programs such as movie time, bingo days. We even have an Xbox system for these individuals to play on to really try to break that feeling of being locked up in jail, right? We want to give these people the best possible outlets to express themselves and the best possible chance at receiving therapy from our mental health staff. So, this purpose, right? Something that I just mentioned about really receiving that therapy from our mental health staff. Probably the best success that we've seen from Mello is reducing the resistance to therapy. A lot of times these individuals come into custody and they don't want to speak to us. They don't want to speak to mental health staff. They don't even want to speak to our nurses. Just recently, I brought Mello to somebody's cell who was having health complications and they didn't want to give blood. As soon as they saw Mello, they started to open up. They wanted to pet him, so I let him pet him. And right away started talking to mental health, started talking to our nurses. So we're really seeing a direct involvement in these people's health benefiting from just simply having a therapy canine in custody.
So again, this is just a fun note for us to end on. You can see this is one of our individuals here that's just dancing around the day room during their program time. It just speaks to how full circle this program has become. Individuals come in extremely isolated, not on medication, going through crisis, having a really difficult time, and to see them come out the other end, enjoying their time in custody, feeling that, they've actually learned something or benefited from being in our care is our main goal. So we feel that we've actually made a difference here, and it's just really nice to see that, these programs work and that we're making a difference in these individuals' lives.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We have a couple of minutes for questions and for the deputies. Are there any questions? Okay. Liz, you go first. We're going to do round robin, one question, please, at a time. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you, Deputy Aguilar and Deputy McFlashin. Am I saying that right? Welcome. It's very nice to have you guys here. I have just a personal question. You don't have to share. Do any of you have, do either one of you have any mental health training or education, or how did you end up doing this work at the TMU? I'm just curious about your backgrounds. I'm assuming you're CIT officers.
I was gonna mention that first. So I think it was our class moving forward. Each academy class, the first week out of the academy, you have a 40-hour CIT course. So everyone moving forward should have at least that base level of training, dealing with individuals in crisis, how to recognize it, and some tools in your toolbox to deal with that. As far as what got us into it, you start as a rotational deputy, you kind of see what some of the options and outlets are within the custody setting. There's only a handful of avenues you can go. I know for myself, this spoke to me just because I didn't really get in law enforcement to be, you know, like a stickler to really get people in trouble. I was trying to help people. So I saw this as a light within that dark custody environment as a way to actually do something that spoke to me more. And it seemed like a no-brainer once I found it.
Thank you for sharing, I appreciate it. So when you develop the profile, is that the equivalent to a treatment plan, but a different way of calling it a treatment plan while they're there?
Essentially, yes. It's something that's not only created by us, but there's a lot of hands involved, right? It's us working with mental health, it's us working even with our facility nurses. Essentially, it is like a treatment plan. It does go with the law enforcement side, because we do have classification things that we do need to implement into that as well. So it's not just their physical health, but it's also where they're gonna be housed, who they're gonna share a cell with, who they're gonna interact with when they have the program or TV time or outdoor time. So it is a treatment program along with some law enforcement aspects, such as classifying them appropriately to get them the best possible situation where they're housed in the jail.
And lastly, as part of your stakeholders, have you thought about incorporating peer support specialists with lived experience into the justice system?
It's actually a really good question. I know we have individuals who are on peer support for our department who are involved in the team. Our very own captain actually is a major stakeholder in our peer support program. But involving other agencies would actually be a great idea, something that we could really look into.
Yeah, I would be happy to chat with you offline about that, because I think upon discharge, that's where we end up in a very time frame between getting discharged, transitioning to independent living, going back home, getting attached to different services, and not having anyone to interact with or walk them through that process. So I have your information, and if it's okay with you guys, I may just reach out independently.
Please reach out to the Deputy McLachlan, because I go to patrol next week. This is
Okay.
actually my last shift with K-9 Mellow, which is awesome.
Okay.
Nobody speed around Camarillo, please.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Cheryl, go ahead.
Thanks. I do have several, but I'll only ask one at a time. You mentioned the recidivism rate, and I wondered what that was. Do you have a rate percentage? And also, in terms of that, what do you find is the biggest barrier? Like is there something that the community could do a better job of in helping these individuals stay out of jail or reoccurring?
You know what, for an exact percentage, I know we took out some slides. I think one of the slides that we took out actually did have an exact percentage, but I do know that it is significantly higher than those who don't suffer from mental health. In terms of community, I worked in Thousand Oaks prior to being a deputy. I worked as a student worker, traffic cadet, I was even a police explorer out there. And I know the city of Thousand Oaks had a lot of things that they offered, whether it was religious services or just social programs for these individuals, specifically who suffered from mental health. I know our homeless liaison unit deals a lot with that, with different, anything from classes to housing for these individuals. As really a community as a whole, I know I've had family members who have suffered from mental health crisis, from drug addiction, and really just having places to go, right? Family, friends, anything like that on a personal level. It really does make a big difference. And that's when we see the most success, when friends and family can take these individuals out of that scene of where they keep going back to. That's really see the most success of not having a higher recidivism rate for these individuals.
So, 1 second, Cheryl, I just wanted to mention, if we don't get to all of the questions, please email them to me and to Jackie, and we'll make sure that we get them to the deputies and get the answers that you're seeking also.
This is just it's a follow-up.
I know, I was just gonna say, Cheryl, go ahead and ask your questions, and then Jennifer, and then we need to close and move on to the next slide.
So just as a follow-up, is there any attempt to involve the family or other significant people before the person is released?
Yes, actually something in the team use, it's a really proactive approach, but we'll actually reach out to family members. So like we briefly mentioned in the individual profile, along with that treatment plan, we actually reach out to family members. Anything from if we have an emergency contact for their mother, father, brother, sister, friend, really anybody who might know where that person can go after the release. Anything from the medication that they were on, or what type of internship or employment opportunities they've had in the past that seem successful. And we'll talk to that person, email, over the phone, to really create the best possible projection for that person.
Thanks.
Michelle, do you have any more questions?
I do, but I don't want to take all the time, so.
Okay. Go ahead, Jennifer. Thank you. Thank you so much for this amazing presentation. I have had some interaction with the TIMU, and I find all of you to be so compassionate. Your program is stellar. All the officers are so kind, and I reach out to the family, and I think it's just an amazing program. A really important question. Where did you get Mello, and what kind of training did you get?
That's the most important question.
Yeah.
So Canine Mellow was purchased from Canine Gold Coast. It's over in Moore Park. It's where we've actually had, I think, all of the canines on our department are from Canine Gold Coast now. Which they're Malinois and German Shepherds, whereas Mellow is a Black Labrador, Labrador Retriever. So we went to obedience school, and what obedience school consists of is everything from him practicing his tricks to healing and standing next to me, downing when I walk away. Also, we did a lot of exposure for like therapy sessions as well. So while he was still on training, taking him to the jail, it's kind of 50-50 sometimes. Some dogs, some therapeutic canines are brought to the custody environment and they don't like it. There's big doors that are moving, opening and closing. There's sleek floors. There's a lot of people that they know are different from their handler. So sometimes the dogs don't like it. Canine Mellow did phenomenally. We brought individuals, anything from civilian staff to deputies to actual inmates, brought them over next to the canine handler and, well, myself, and next to the canine trainer, and actually worked him around them. He did phenomenally. He continues to as well.
Thank you. Michelle, ask your final question, and then Diane ask a quick one, and then we're gonna close, and we're gonna thank the officers for coming. But let's go ahead.
It was actually just sort of a suggestion question, I guess, in terms of your behavioral chart where you're reinforcing positive behavior, et cetera. What about, do you ever consider those who are attending either group or individual sessions to give them credit on that chart for attending and participating or whatever?
Yes, so the programs themselves oftentimes involve and goodies, snacks, treats. So like we'll actually make popcorn for these individuals, or we'll bring anything from candy bars, anything like that to these people. Also, a lot of the times we try to line up these classes with times that they would be in their cell. So that way they might have their 4 or their 6 hours out of their cell. And then in addition to that, they have another 2 or 3 hours outside of their cell, hanging out with me and Mello or our mental health staff. So not only are there goodies involved, which they really like, they also, another treat is hanging out with Canine Mello.
And then that's great. It's not what my question was though, but
Oh, I'm
that's,
so
so I
We
appreciate
do
that
track
information.
the participation in the programs, we do track, and that's actually part of our rubric, not just cleanliness and medication compliance, but participation in the programs that we offer
Right.
is one of the criteria that we give them points.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, Diane, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much. You guys seem so dedicated, yet it seems like you're rotating out. So how long does a person stay in the program?
So that all, it's case by case, it really just shows, it depends on how much you've shown in your time in custody. There's some people, I think I got in the program for 6 months on, where he's been here for 6 months. So it's all case by case basis. I know that obviously the turnover rate isn't the most productive thing in a unit like this. So as far as us filling spots, we have a lot of individuals that are going out to patrol right now. It's definitely something we're looking at, just to kind of have a little bit more consistency there. But it varies for each individual.
Thank you. All right, let's thank the deputies for coming. It's now, you can get a treat. Thank you so much. And if there are any other questions that anyone has, bye, Madam. Please send your questions in and we'll make sure the officers get them. Thank you so much. All right. Next on the agenda is the chair comments. I'm going to make it very, very brief. I wanted to congratulate Nate Place, which is a wellness center in Oxnard, named after a Nordhoff High School graduate. And they have received a $400,000 state grant even before celebrating its first year in February. For Nate's Place, that funding will go towards programming and payroll for coaches and specialists who work at this center. So congratulations to Nate's Place. They're a county contractor and they work with at-risk teens and young adults ages 13 to 25 in Oxnard and Ventura. And the other thing I wanted to mention is Ventura County Behavioral Health has given us green ribbons for May's Mental Health Month, and I think they're a great conversation starter. I like to wear them out and about, so if anyone would like to have one of these, please take them and wear them. And okay, so that is it for chair comments. Next on the agenda, we have a discussion of a notice of decision related to the Lanterman Technical Store LPS facility designation at Aurora, Del Mar. I wanted to open that up for questions and comments. Please, we're going to do round robin with this also. So if you could please keep your comments to one or questions to one. And then we'll go to the next person who may have a question, and then we'll circle back to the initial person who had a question. Dr. Jenner, did you have anything that you wanted to say ahead of that?
No, just for the record that, the BHAB members were notified, immediately, post the release to the provider and the board of supervisors. So, that was last Tuesday of this week. Or last week, and then members of the public also received in the BHAB packet last Thursday that was released, and obviously we have copies here today as well. And this information is all posted on the website. So I just wanted to make sure folks had it available for those participating online. You should have received either in your packet or on the website.
I also wanted to thank Dr. Jenner and her staff. Anyone else who was involved in this process. This is something that was brought up to the BHAB when the designation was renewed for LPS. And so we appreciate your sending it out to us as you had promised, and that's very kind of you to make sure that got to us right away. So thank you. All right, questions for Dr. Jenner? Or comments?
Thank you. And thank you for this report and all the content here. I really appreciate it. And I guess my thoughts or comments I'll just kind of share is I understand that the importance that Vista Del Mar serves as a place, for LPS, as a space for us to be able to have people recover. And I really do understand, that you went through the precautions to make sure that their stay there is first and foremost safe through the recovery. My main question is, it seems to me this Chartist report that's referenced in the notes, that it's 49 pages. It seems their recommendations seem to be that Vista Del Mar might not be ready, or by some of those notes. It seems that the notes and the findings that she mentioned, the first one sounded positive, but the following kind of seems maybe that they're not quite ready. And I also am assuming that we can't really know if they're ready until they're put in a position to be stated and then follow a closely monitored plan. So my first question is that Chartist 49-page report available for us? And then just kind of how do we plan to monitor? I see the monitoring report, but if you could just speak to that.
Sure, thank you for the question, Grace. So the report itself is not available
at this time, due to litigation. But what I can say is the recommendations, as outlined, were weighed in consideration with the fact that you brought up that point. There's no way to really know unless someone's given the opportunity to try, correct? So in my opinion, and in consultation with our clinical experts, the way to do so would be to create the compliance and monitoring agreement. So that way we would still have the ability to monitor, to stay close, while they can demonstrate whether or not they can meet the standards.
Thank you.
I have a question. How much time are you going to be giving them to sign if they decide to go ahead? Sign, do they have to sign Exhibit A or what is the process?
So the process and everything is outlined in the packet. It's outlined in the compliance agreement that they have, time to review and to determine, if they would like to participate. Again, this is all conditional reinstatement. They could choose not to. I don't believe that they will choose not to, but they have every right to decide not to enter into an agreement and to relinquish their LPS designation. At this time, we're still awaiting their decision. I will be going to the board tomorrow, however, just as a receipt and file for my decision to conditionally reinstate and to also request the board approve my ability to enter into an agreement with them should they choose to. So. Sure.
Thank you. This is really thorough. I really appreciated reading all this. Just filled in a lot of kind of questions, and you've done a lot of work here for sure. And certainly the conditions are, I thought, very thorough, and they're tough, and they should be. But that's what you're aiming for. I think you got there. I did have a question though about the monitoring. I was a little confused. It looked like they hire someone or they hire somebody or something. And so what kind of agency does this kind of monitoring? Who would they be hiring? And then I assume that I think it also said you or your designee would have to approve it.
Correct. So thank you for the question. Yes, so they are responsible for hiring a monitor that would be subject to my approval. This is actually not uncommon in hospital world to have external monitors that are contracted to do these sorts of things. Chartis Clinical Solutions, the organization that did the review for me, is one of those groups. Obviously, they're not eligible in this particular case to do that, but there are other consulting firms who do this type of work where they have a team of experts similar to the makeup of the folks from the Chartis group with psychiatry, LPS, specialty nursing, and every other expertise in the hospital who are able to do this sort of monitoring. So this is not unfamiliar for a lot of hospitals who are subject to it for different reasons, whether it's licensing, JCO accreditation, whatever the case may be. So there are groups out there that do this work. And it is very expensive, yes.
And they bear the cost of that. Correct. And then just a follow-up question to that, it sounds like, again, from reading this, you're asking them to start with just 2 patients.
Correct.
And then it's increased at what the monitor's suggestion with your approval. Is that how that works then?
Correct.
Okay.
So it'll be up to the hospital if they should, when they're working with the monitor to determine what their goals are. And to determine, at what pace they would like to go, if they have a desire to go beyond 2, what time frame, how quickly that happens will be up to them and the monitor, and then subject to my approval based on whether or not I feel that they're actually ready for it.
I'm gonna make a comment and I have a couple of questions, probably one follow-up. So I find this just, sad. I'm sad. I'm very, very sad. And, the thing that is, I'm a little taken aback by is that there's been absolutely no consequence for the current staff and management of the hospital. The consequence was they lost their LPS designation, but other than that, I know there's some litigation happening. I don't know if it's potential charges or criminal, a criminal case,
or if fines will be imposed, or what larger state agency or department is gonna step in and take a look at this. You've been doing your due diligence as far as suspending the designation, giving them an opportunity to address it. Based on what I read, they have not exercised, in my opinion, a good faith effort to get this done. They've done the very bare minimum required. The fact that it took them just a week before getting the response to you to get 2 people to go to patient rights training is outrageous. This to me is well below what we should be expecting from our in-county psychiatric hospital. Exhibit A, in my mind, is the basic fundamental minimum requirements to take care and ensure patient rights, safety, health, dignity. And so this to me isn't even something, this is something that should have already been in existence. The fact that these things don't exist, I feel like our hands are tied because they're the only provider in the county outside of the IPU. We can't just say, well, thank you very much, we're gonna go to hospital, Hope over here and send our folks over there. So I feel like I want to raise the bar. And so I would want this exhibit A to be like the ground floor. The fact that we're having to remind them about physician documentation on each patient, non-physician documentation on each patient, treatment planning, discharge planning, medication, de-escalation, restraint, seclusion, and emergency medication documentation. I mean, I just can't believe these things aren't already in place. I want to see a policy, which I understand they're gonna have to do. They're gonna have to go out and get somebody to come in and essentially be a meister to take over and look at what they're doing with your approval. But I want some built-in benchmarks. I want some built-in, you get here and now we're gonna go here. I want to hear about this in 6 months and then I want to look at this again in 3 months. I don't feel like this 12-month, I know you're gonna sign off on a lot of stuff and I'm glad that you built that in as some additional oversight and accountability. But I think we are not where we need to be. I appreciate that there was a conversation with the facility about their census dropping down to 14, 15 inpatients. And that they're managing it now, but they can't get back up to where they were pre your suspension, and that we're gonna do this incremental increase in involuntary holds. And all of this talks about involuntary holds, but there are voluntary folks there. When I self-admitted myself 20 years ago, I was a voluntary hold. I want all of these things in Exhibit A to apply to voluntary admission as well as involuntary admission. And I just feel we need to have, we're gonna do it, they're gonna do it at their expense. They're gonna pick a third party to come in and take over this, be the change agent, which is what happens when you're doing systemic change. And you're gonna help monitor that. But we need to build in some additional checks and balances to make sure that this doesn't go off the rails. And based on, in my opinion, their lack of remorse, apology, accountability, responsibility. They're not stepping up and saying anything. If anything, they were getting nitpicky with you in response to what some of the surveyors were doing. I mean, and you even said it, you outlined it, and they're doing ad hominem attacks on people who are coming in to say, wait a minute, you can't do this. And in the report, and I mean this in all due respect, I don't think it's intellectually honest to say there were incidents, people died. We had deaths in this county as a result of their inaction and just absolute dereliction of duty. So I'm extraordinarily concerned about right now, this is the minimum that I see required. And I would look forward to perhaps other discussions with you and them in a given amount of time, and perhaps bring a few of us, not the entire board, but a few folks from various areas of the community, family member, other agencies, consumers, to sit and talk and just say, hey, what actually is going on and what's the progress and where are we? Because I don't think this even comes close to meeting the mark. And I will tell you right now, as someone who is a client of BCBH for 22 years, and someone who has self-admitted to Vista Del Mar and was attached to that facility for 6 weeks, I'm in a situation now, because I'm privy to all of this, I would never self-admit myself not at Vista Del Mar until this got onto a much higher level.
of appropriate treatment, appropriate services. I mean, no one's been fired. That bothers me. The people we're asking to implement change, even with the addition of hiring a third party, are the people that are gonna be there doing this. And none of them have gone through extensive training. None of them have met some of the minimum requirements. You know, and even just their internal policies right now, having the internist, not the psychiatrist, monitor emergencies and patient records, you know, a nurse writing a hold and then a hold being undone, people leaving an AMA, and that happens, I know, it happens. But I just feel like we've got a way to go until I have a way to go until I feel comfortable saying, oh, yes, this is, you know, we're there. I feel like this is the first step to many other steps in the process. So I thank you for taking on this. It's a heavy lift. You did mention that along with the organization that went into the surveys and talked to their staff and did audits and looked at charts, that there was a member of BCBH management that participated. Who was that individual?
So it's our former quality, managed care operations chief, Amir Madawi.
Oh, and he's no longer here. So I guess I would want to know, is there going to be somebody in addition to you from the department being a point person on something? Well, once that position is filled with QI, will we have that other set of eyes and ears?
So that will be a separate function for our newly formed network compliance unit, which is part of our managed care operations team, which I talked about during the director's update. But they will have a dedicated point person.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely essential. So thank you very much. I appreciate you sharing this with us. And I just would say, the thing that's disappointing, and again, this is just is that we were given a notice of decision. It was a fait accompli, it was done. I know you asked for input and there was an opportunity for that, but I think I would have welcomed to be part of that process up until the decision to reinstate LPS designation. Thank you.
The only thing I will say is, this report was also released to California Department of Public Health at the same time, which oversees licensing. Obviously, within my authority as a local mental health director, I only have jurisdiction over LPS designation. And all of the things you cited are fair and points, which fall under licensing, which is directly under the state of California. So again, they are aware. They have remained silent this entire time. I would encourage you, if you have feedback directly related to this report, to send it to them.
Great, I will follow up with you to get that information. I'm aware of the managed care licensing division under DC. I understand that, so I will take you on that. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other BHAB members? Chris, go ahead.
Sorry, just one more follow-up too. I may have this wrong, but as I understand it, right now, we don't have a capacity for youth block placement outside of the Del Mar. And so I'm just, if, you know, as the status changes with this Del Mar and we're able to send youth there, they're under the age of 18. I just want to piggyback on what this was saying, and that's a very vulnerable population that I just want to make sure it's the best care. So, but I may also have that wrong, so please clarify.
Yeah, so they are still eligible for voluntary admissions. So they're, just like on the adult side, it's involuntary only, but there are youth and under 18 at Vista on a voluntary, and there have been during time.
And this would change where involuntary youth could be admitted now that this study has changed.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else for these comments? Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for getting us out to us last week. And as someone who's in charge of a unit that represents folks in these hospitals, do you have any idea, guesstimate of when they might respond as far as accepting these conditions, whatnot? Because, and then once they do, from that point forward, about how long are we looking at before involuntary admissions begin?
So unfortunately, I do not have a crystal ball. I can't tell you how long it's going to take them to respond. I can't tell you how long it's going to take them to get the third-party monitor in place and the plan that would need to be approved by me in place before they can start taking admissions. The ball is in their court. Once I find out, I will let this board know what their decision has been. but I can't tell you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I just wanted to mention.
What about their staffing? Is it at the same level as it has been, or are they trying to increase or change their staffing at all? Do you know?
What I know is that they claim that they maintained their staffing throughout the suspension. Obviously, with the recommendations of the report, and I'm assuming recommendations for the monitor, they would probably have to make adjustments in the upward direction. But what I've been told so far, they've been able to maintain their existing staffing levels throughout the suspension despite not having the census.
I did want to mention that it is possible that they may not agree and respond to site plan.
That is correct. This is all conditional, so the reinstatement, just to be clear, the reinstatement is conditional upon them agreeing to the terms of the compliance and monitoring agreement and subject to my approval of the monitor.
All right, any other questions or comments before we move along? Well, thank you again. And now, move to the director's report. Thank you.
Briefly, taking up time, obviously we wanted to acknowledge, this month is May, is Mental Health Month. We were very, honored to be, given a proclamation highlighting our, efforts in collaboration with our crisis team and the city of Port Hueneme and Port Hueneme Police. Staff and I participated in the city council meeting a couple of weeks ago where we were honored with that proclamation. So I wanted to say thank you again to the city and police chief for the recognition. Also wanted to thank my staff who've done tons and tons of events this month on behalf of the county and healthcare agency and our community-based organizations who also participated in a number of events this month highlighting May's Health Month. Also wanted to fill in some information on our housing. We talked about last month, kind of the shifts in housing across the county with the new housing positions coming on with the CEO's office and shifting housing oversight within behavioral health to align with that in the CEO's office. We attended, staff and I attended a visit from the governor's senior advisor on homelessness earlier this month. Talking about all of the critical resources and linkages. It was a wonderful meeting. We had representation from across the county, including our public defender's office, which the senior advisor said it was the first time she had ever seen a PD's office represented in this type of forum, where you have healthcare, obviously, fire, law enforcement, our homeless liaison unit. We even had public works there talking about our riverbed activities. And so it was really a great meeting to highlight all of the work and coordination across the county. And then she went on a little tour of some of our one-stops and got to see full on just all of the resources we're pumping through in the county. So that was really nice to be a part of that. Also wanted to highlight some of our work on the substance use side. As you know, we've been a very active county when it comes to the opioid crisis and medications for addiction treatment. And we've done a lot of work with our prescribers across healthcare agency and within behavioral health. And this week we have a prescribers care series with our SES medical director, Dr. Blaskovitz, our chief medical examiner, Dr. Young, and our chief of addiction medicine at BCMC, Dr. Khan. They will be doing 2 events in East County this week as part of their ongoing prescribers care series. Really encouraging prescribers to be really comfortable and have the knowledge base to do medications for assisted treatment in various settings, whether that's an inpatient medical unit, whether it's an outpatient mental health, or even in primary care. And so we're very excited when we get to do more of those. Also wanted to provide an update on KEPRA. Many of you know that they have been, they're back in the CBH network after having spent some time out when we switched to managed care on the DMCODS side. They have recently opened a recovery residence for women. So in addition to their 14 beds for men, they have 8 beds for women. And so recovery residents, as a reminder, is housing for folks who are in active outpatient treatment through VCBH. So they have active outpatient treatment, and then the housing is separate. So it's a part of the treatment continuum. It's one way people will call it is an elevated sober living, because in sober living, you don't necessarily have to be in active treatment. With recovery housing, you're in active treatment as well. So I wanted to highlight that. Also in our, we talked about some of the administrative changes as a result of Prop 1 and what that, and managed care, what that will do to the department. One of the things I did just a couple of weeks ago was a presentation to BHAB, the Ventura Council of Governments, doing an overview of the legislative changes in landscape, similar to the presentation I did to this board back in December of last year, highlighting the changes under Prop 1 and with CARE Act, SB 43, all of those. One of those areas includes BH Connect, which is an initiative you'll hear more of soon, which is a new, it's like counting 2.0, really shifting 2 areas. One is on the provider side, as far as evidence-based treatments, kind of elevating FSPs to align some of what's covered in the Prop 1. And the other piece of it is really the managed care infrastructure. And so again, like all of these, it really does reshape the organization of the department. And so we will in time kind of present an overview of kind of where we're going and how we are aligning the department and functional roles for these managed care requirements. One of those is, as I referred to earlier, Liz, network compliance, which is another arm of monitoring within managed care setting. And so some of the shifts that have happened recently included kind of extracting some of the administrative pieces with what we used to know as our VCBH contracts unit, and shifting that to align with healthcare agency contracts. So some of those functions and roles have shifted there. And what remains with behavioral health is network operations. So many of the people that you're familiar with, Marissa Seal, she is the head of our network operation component, and that really is shifting into the managed care. So between network compliance and network operations, those are kind of the arms of the managed care contracting and monitoring pieces that we will be expanding on moving forward. So we will do a larger kind of in-depth presentation later on this year, most likely on kind of the organization shifts as a result of BH Connect and Prop 1 and CalAIM, as some of the roles are going to shift quite significantly. That's it.
Thank you, thank you, Dr. Denner. Are there any other comments or questions for Dr. Denner? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is the nominating committee announcement. And I wanted to first thank Kevin Parisi and CJ and Nancy Borchard for agreeing to be on the nominating committee. And so, oh, wait, sorry, wait, who's your name?
Liz.
Kevin, Liz. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. That was last year.
Yes.
Thank you very much, the 3 of you, for, it's a difficult task, and, I know it takes a great deal of work and finesse, and, you know, arm twisting. Arm twisting, I didn't say that. I give you. I am. Okay, so, Kevin, please take the floor and give us your slate, please.
Yeah, thank you, Janice. Nominating committee was myself and Liz Warren and Nancy Borchard. It's my pleasure to represent them. We did spend over the last several weeks talking, discussing, evaluating various candidates, and we're quite pleased to be presenting the slate that we're going to be nominating today. That slate includes the following: for chair, Cheryl Hayden; first vice chair is Diane McKay; second vice chair is James Espinoza; and for secretary would be CJ Keaton. Also, Janice Gardner would stay on the executive committee as the chair emeritus. It also has a member at large position, but that position is appointed by the chair once the chair is elected. My understanding is today's action is to announce the slate, but the actual action on approving the slate will come next month. With that, that concludes our nominations.
Kevin, we also, during the month of May, you can ask for nominations from the floor. This will be the only month that we will accept nominations from the floor. Thank you.
With that, I will go ahead and open the period that if anyone would like to make a nomination from the floor. Seeing that, we'll go ahead and close with the nominations as presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your hard work, all three of you, and we look forward to the vote in June. Thank you very much for your hard work. All right, next on the agenda is the BHAB committee's discussion. As many of us know, we've had difficulty in establishing quorums on the majority of our committees each month. And this has been an issue for quite some time, actually, since COVID, really. And we had talked about briefly during some of our meetings that we might want to discuss how we can rectify this by perhaps changing dates or integrating a couple of our committees. I see that we have all of the committee chairs here in this meeting, and we don't have to make a decision today. It's not an action item, but I just wanted to open it up to the members and the chairs of each committee to see what kind of ideas you might have or what committees you feel might be integrated. Oh, actually, we're missing Genevieve and Marlette, so we don't have all of our chairs here. So we don't have either of them present right now. So, but for the remaining chairs of the committees, do you have any comments? Chris? Okay, go ahead, Dahlia.
My question is, why can't we do that Zoom? Because like for me, like I have to drive 1 hour, exactly 1 hour it takes me to come here, 1 hour going back, 2 hours for a like 1 hour meeting. But like Zoom, okay, I can be always there.
I wish we could, but we still have a state mandate that well, actually, we have a state mandate that we have to, Marty, I'm gonna ask you to weigh in on this. I know that Marty took a look at the WIC code, Welfare and Institution Code, and found out, I'm gonna give it over to you, Marty.
Yeah, so there were a couple of questions last month, and I tried to make sure I came with answers this time. So let me give you just a brief reading. So the direct answer to your question is, why do you have to be on Zoom? It's because it's a standing committee. So instead of having a temporary or ad hoc work group that has a specific task, works on it, gets done with it, and goes away, your current bylaws provide for a series of standing committees. And those standing committees do fall under the Brown Act. If you were to do the same work through temporary ad hoc work groups, and even if you had temporary ad hoc work groups and the same ones every year, but they were temporary ad hoc work groups, then you would be free from the Brown Act with regard to those meetings, and you could hold them by Zoom. There's no actually no public requirement, that people be able to have the same, access to you as the standing committees. So that's the short answer to that.
I'm gonna ask Michael. Michael, you go ahead, because I did have a comment in that it's my understanding that the ad hoc work group would have to have a beginning and an end.
So let me give you, there's
Okay.
an official definition. Sure, there's an official definition. So, and because there was, of course, a piece of litigation at some point. So it is a committee which is advisory to the main body. And composed of less than quorum, so less than the number that you usually have to meet for this. And it serves a limited or single purpose. It is not perpetual. And it will be dissolved once its specific task is completed. So that's the nature of an ad hoc or temporary work group. But again, you know, it would certainly be possible if you have tasks from one year to the next, you could have a task, create a work group, and have it finish the task. And once it's done, then you don't continue to have meetings, you know, at least until you decide that that task needs to be done again. Does that make sense?
Okay, go ahead, Diane. Just for example, the executive committee, if it wasn't an executive committee meeting and it was agenda setting, would that then make it not a standing committee?
Well, I think again, you would have to have a whole series of ad hoc work groups, and I think people would say if you had that same task every month, same group of people, that looks like a standing committee.
Okay,
You can't just call it something different, you have to have a real,
well,
beginning, middle, and end of that.
we talked about having a work group to look at our bylaws, so I just wanted, and I think we should, especially with Prop 1A and some of the changes that are coming through, I think that it makes the most sense to probably look at, you know, first our committees, make them probably workers to see if they can make sense anymore under the changes that we've That's a good comment.
So the redoing the bylaws is a perfect example of an ad hoc committee purpose. Even though it might take you a number of meetings.
Michael, go ahead.
But there's some discussion around that, well, we can just have like a youth and family services work group, and then each year we renew it and give it new tasks, but it seems as though by doing that, you're circumventing the purpose of the Brown Act, which is to have transparency in government bodies.
I totally agree. You should not plan to do this every year. What I'm saying is if you have a task that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, you don't have to have a standing committee to do that for a whole year. And the next year you make another decision. Is that a new task that needs to be repeated? You have to vote on it each time and make those determinations as a group.
Because each year we form a data notebook work. But that note that we get it in the fall, and we have to turn it in like 3 months later, or I forget the exact timeline. But that's like a very defined purpose. It's just for a few months, it's not for the full 12 months. And then we turn it in, and then it's kind of like we get the new data notebook again from the planning council, and then we start it up again. That seems fine, but to kind of like do something where youth and family services work group, and each year we renew it, and we just change one little goal, that seems that would violate the spirit and even maybe the express language of the Brown Act.
I agree with you. You can't just call it a work group but have it be, you know, have a standing agenda that's exactly the same. You need a task for that group of people that has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Okay, so if we continue with our committees, Kevin, I saw your hand, go ahead.
I was just going to mention, I'm currently chair of the Youth and Family Committee, and actually, in the last couple months, we've had good attendance, which has been great. My understanding is the TIL committees had some challenges with the quorum, and there was some suggestion potentially of combining them. I'd be very open to that, you know, conversation. I'm just putting that on the table as well as, you know, comply with all these the requirements. Having, you know, 8 committees is a challenge, but if perhaps we brought it down to like 2 or 3, and the agenda was one, it was posted once Brown Act, but it had a larger agenda. It might be easier for people like, you know, they come in once for multiple topics than just one single topic. So that's just my suggestion.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the discussions that I'd like to have. Because integrating a couple of the work groups into committees, integrating maybe 1 or 2 of the committees or however many are decided. And of course, we have to go back to our committees. It's not just the chair's decision to discuss this. The only question I was, because I was thinking about this all weekend, and I was wondering, it's something that we might want to think about as far as our agendas and presentations. Like for instance, the prevention committee could be integrated possibly with adults. Because we seem to have a lot of similar goals. But then how would we would have to discuss how we would, do presentations and how we would do the agendas with any of the integrated, committees, sorry, I forgot what out of my head right now. So that might be something. I would very much like to hear from Marlon, because I know that they have, Marlon and Genevieve, that is one of the committees that has not had a quorum in a very, very long time. So I don't want to speak for them. I think that we might want to talk to them and see what they think, but yes, go ahead, Becky.
I not having a forum, I'd like to speak with them too, but I mean, we are talking about it now, and I think that getting a work group to look at the bylaws to first.
We're doing that.
Yeah, the first, look at the combining of the committees, I think it makes sense, and also the requirement that each BHAB member be on a committee, because you look at someone who has to drive an hour, it's a lot different if you look 15 minutes from here versus like an hour from here on, maybe your ability to attend a committee meeting. So I just think looking at all of that in the whole, it was very easy when we were all doing this by Zoom for a few years to commit to things. And I think these were done effectively and efficiently. So that was my second question is there any time on it? I know all the bills are in for the year, but is there a bill with the trailer bill that makes sense that we could maybe tack this on that committees of BHAB could meet via Zoom? I mean, I can't believe we're the only county having this different.
Go ahead, Michael, is part of the go ahead, Michael, you speak yourself.
Yeah, I'm a member of on the governing board of the California Association of Local Behavioral Health Boards and Commissions. And that there's a bill that which bill number it is. Thanks. And one of the proposals was to have all committee meetings, not all committee meetings, like all board meetings be able to go hybrid. And then I suggested that, we do it to where the general meeting, was splitting it up, it's where general meetings in person, but the committee meeting would be hybrid. And so that we wouldn't have to have an in-person quorum requirement. If someone's logging in, that would count for the purposes of quorum, for the committees. But it would have to take a piece of legislation to go through. Right now, that piece of legislation, didn't make it to the governor's desk. They're curious why it hasn't, considering there's like little or no fiscal impact. But the priority right now is trying to figure out, resolve the budget.
Right.
And so that's where everyone's energy and time's going. But as I get more information, or each month we discuss like what's going on with this, because you're right, we are not in the county who's dealing with the quorum situation for counties. Many of the advisory boards are up and down the state, and so as I get more information, I'll pass it along. But I'm full support of having committee meetings be hybrid, but I'm also a strong proponent of these meetings being in person, and that's more of my opinion my personal opinion than it is me in any official capacity. And I've been clear on that part of it, because I think these are opportunities for us to have discussions before or after on related but not for business.
I think that's an excellent compromise. I hope that it gets to whatever steps.
Me too.
Go ahead, James.
So I just wanted to kind of concur with Dahlia, because it's 45-minute drive for me, it's a 4-hour turnaround for me to come for a 1-hour meeting. So I would actually suggest that if we can't actually combine committees, that at least look at the days we're having the committee meetings and doing 2 committee meetings on one day. I could be part of 2 committees and drive in. It's much more efficient for me to be here for those 2 meetings rather than driving in for an hour. as not a private businessman, it's a lot of opportunity for income for me. And it's also kind of a bit of a challenge in terms of traffic. So just wanted to offer that idea as well.
Okay, I agree, and I also agree with Michael. I like the fact that we can meet in person once a month. And, you know, we have our general meeting and have certainly a lot of our participants in the room, as we do today. That's very helpful and, you know, and is in compliance with Brown Act, which is one of our purposes here. And the reason that we're appointed by the Board of Supervisors. So, there's a prevention committee meeting, at the end of this month, and I will be discussing it with the members there. If they would be, open to integrating, if, Chris is open to integrating, the prevention committee meeting and see if maybe, if they're agreeable and see how we could work that out. And, you know, it would take, you know, a couple, you know, conversations, I would imagine. And then, certainly, Kevin, we don't have a TAY chair, and there are no TAY committees. I mean, no TAY committee meetings at the present time, but we certainly, it's such an important population. I believe that that could be something that you might want to think about also, how you could integrate, you know, assuming that we will have a TAY chair.
Yeah, sounds great. I would defer, I guess, what's going to the new executive committee. I mean, the new, you know, I think it should come back to the full board if we're gonna combine the committees. But personally, I'm supportive. I think the audience that's there, I think the topics that we discussed, really makes sense to combine, those particular. Yeah.
Right, and given the fact that, we will be discussing it with our various committee members, that, you know, now we have a meeting in June, and then we have our new officer, and we'll have the election of our new officers in June. They will take, the slate will take, what's the program? Yeah, the slate will go into effect on July 1st, so it might be something. Yeah, go ahead.
It might be nice too, if someone can't make it for the meeting, as we look at reformulating or combining these committees, of knowing what time of day. I know that like 1 o'clock is the worst for me. I can't, it's like it breaks up the morning and the afternoon because they can't have a lunch meeting. And so if you're a private business person, it's rough. So I mean, just kind of looking at the meetings at how they might make more sense that they end at the end of your day or start at the beginning of your day. It just seems a little bit easier to, you're working to make that.
A really good point. A really good point too. So it's something we'll consider.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, the day of the week is, I mean, Mondays are very busy days, so I mean, Thursday, Friday would be much, I mean, from my own schedule, but I'm sure everybody else does. Thank you.
All right, so, lots to consider. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item, formation of bylaw. I just wanted to comment. Yes, of course, it will definitely have to come back. Whatever decisions are made, we don't do it about it. They have to come back to the full board at some point for the vote. All right, so next, the formation of the bylaws work group, as we kind of kicked around, our bylaws haven't been updated in quite a few years. We have two changes from the state that are mandates that we have to adhere to in the bylaws that aren't even in our bylaws yet. And so I would like to form a BHAB BHAB work group to take a look at the existing bylaws and also maybe consider another working document that would be more of a procedural document. So if we have any changes in the next year or the next 2 years, that we don't have to go back and redo our bylaws completely, which is an extremely expensive proposition. I think it costs around $10,000, something to that effect. And that,
I was like, whatever Martin's gonna.
oh, whatever, Mark, okay, well, okay, I don't know, but it's an expensive proposition, and, we need to stay current with the state's mandates. And so I think that this might be something I would like to form, and, if anyone would like to, I'll take the lead on that, and if anyone would like to be a part of that, please email me. Okay, please email me, so that I can put you down as, someone that would like to participate, and that by Zoom, yes? Yes. So real group, we can do it by Zoom. No in-person, meetings is required.
Yes.
Yes, DJ.
I am in Robert bylaws reconstruction. I think you should take the point of view that the bylaws are sort of is the menu of what things need to be done. And not be so concise, because if you have to do amendments, it's a lot more layers. But, and then you have a standing rules like a procedural document, that's the recipes.
Yes.
And that tells you how stuff is done, you know.
Yes.
Yes.
Good analogy, and that sounds like a great idea. So that's the intent. So, oh, good. So glad. Thank you, CJ. I appreciate that very much. All right, next on the agenda, we have Proposition 1, BHSA work group, which I understand now is not officially called BH. Oh, it is? Oh, okay, so we can go ahead with that. Okay, Chris, take the floor, please.
Yeah, so I'll keep it very brief. We're in the very early stages of forming this work group. I have a list put together of people who are interested in joining, and sent out an initial email to get the scheduling going. I also sent out a full text link that's about 70 pages or so of the Prop 1 that just shows existing language and the changes that will be implemented and will be implemented at different dates along the way for that process. So, yeah, I sent that out. I believe I left a couple of people off accidentally.
Yeah,
So,
I got it.
yeah. So I'll be sure to with you, but we're just going through scheduling now. I want to give everybody at least a week to 2 weeks to read through that, because it takes some time, and our overarching goal is to read through it individually, come together in a meeting, and having identified different pieces that stand out to us, where we want to then follow up with Dr. Venerin and her staff, and ask just follow-up questions, things that catch our eye, things that we're interested in, things that we don't know how they may be implemented. So that's the general goal. Then, based on the response that we get from Dr. Venerin's office, we'll go back through, digest the responses, and then produce a report to the full committee. And I remember I spoke with, or emailed with Janice as well, that we'd like to distribute that full text to the full board, so that everybody has access to it. It's a fun read. But yeah, so that's the general plan. We're still very early on, and I'll report back once we get things going. And we'll be meeting virtually, so please reach out and interested in that.
Are we also looking at, there was a lot of budget changes too that affected behavioral health, so I just didn't know if it made sense, like have to read all of them. It's like, this is what we have, this is what the changes, and this is what we no longer have funding for. It's all goes together. It's quite the stew.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's all, yes. So thank you.
Okay, so please reach out to Kevin, to Chris, if you would like to join that with you. It's an important thing as well. All right, we have committee reports. Chris, we have Adult Services Committee.
Yes, so we had an adult service committee meeting. I was actually absent for this because I was sick. But I asked Jennifer to chair it and she did an amazing job. We didn't reach a quorum, so we don't actually have we won't have minutes produced and it was just an informational meeting. Jennifer, if you care to update about the conversation.
Thanks, Chris. Well, I did my best, that's for sure. It was more of an open conversation. We had a lot of conversation with Dr. Schiffer around 43 and just what that looks like for our county. We talked a lot about you know, the meeting of our MHRC, the concern about mental health services may be affected in a not so positive way with the influx of new clients coming on board with substance abuse. And so that's a big concern for us, wanting to get things more dialed in and figure out what we're gonna do. I know that some of us are interested in speaking to the board of supervisors about moving things along, but yeah, it was a big topic with Dr. Schiffer, and it was actually a really good meeting. Informational. Thank you.
All right, thank you. As we all know, this is another issue with not having forms of committees is that we have no minutes. And therefore, you know, if the public or any of us want to find out what happened during that meeting, we have no way of knowing. So this is I would think that this is one of the most significant reasons that we need to figure out how to mitigate this situation. So, okay, that's my personal opinion. All right, Disparities Reduction Committee, Marlon and Genevieve, took place on May 7th, but none of them are here, so I'm not sure. There was no meeting? Okay, so Dr. Denner said there was no meeting. And I believe Genevieve was the only one that showed up for that. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so next we have board member comments and announcements. So board members, if you have any comments or questions, now's the time. So thank you. Okay.
I just want to share that this morning Congressman Carvajal, it was actually under his, but Congressman Brownlee was also there. We accepted the Family Justice Center of Ventura County accepted 1.66 million for extra housing, 18 units at the Justice Center for Transitionary Housing for victims of domestic violence, sexual trafficking. I mean, it's such a big piece of it that they have a place to go and stay until they get stabilized. So thank you to the Congress members.
Thanks, Diane. All right. Any other board member comments? Did you have something? Oh, I did want to ask James, could you say a little bit about the Prop 1 situation that with which you're involved, please?
Sure. So separate from county, completely separate from county behavioral health, I was invited to be part of the planning implementation team or committee. Myself and 60 plus other folks at the state level, led by a Governor Newsom's team. So although I am interested in the work group, I'd rather be a liaison and maybe feed information to you and feed information back. At the state level, they are asking for county input as to what our concerns are, what our needs are, what questions we have. So I'd be happy to funnel those questions back to Governor Newsom's team and feed that back to you. But there's a lot of information coming out a little bit at a time. So they're figuring out at the state level as we are at the county level. I guess that's kind of the update there. As transitioning, May is also Military Appreciation Month. So this past month, we're about halfway through it. So just if you need to see a veteran or you have an opportunity to attend an event, it is Military Appreciation Month. I know in Simi Valley on May 27th, I'm on the Disabled American Veterans Board. I was recently appointed as a senior vice commander for that chapter. There is a Memorial Day event on May 27th at Pioneer Park. So there will be events, I'm sure, throughout the county, but just want to throw that out there.
That's important. Thank you for mentioning that. I didn't see that, hear about that. Next year, we should, talk about that in advance so that everyone will know. So thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. All right, any other board member comments?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. So in honor of May's Mental Health Awareness Month, the Client Network held their annual community event for 100 clients that are residents of adult residential facilities, boarding cares here in the county. We had 100 clients who were treated to a wonderful lunch, and we had gift bags and games and gift cards, and it was really, really well received. We were at Sunrise Manor, Elms, Thompson House, so place. So it was just, again, a really good, it's always just such a rewarding experience. This is gonna sound, perhaps some of you will get it, some of you won't, but we provide a buffet catered Mexican meal. We sync it into like a Cinco de Mayo celebration, we call it our fiesta. And I cannot explain to you the pure joy clients have in being able to choose what they want to eat that day. Because normally, every day, there's a menu planned for them. Food is not always great, food sometimes is good, but for them to be able to walk up and decide if they want chicken or beans or rice or salad or fruit, it was like we were giving them steak and lobster. And it's just an amazing, empowering, simple little act that just boosts self-confidence and self-worth and allows the individual to feel validated and seen. And then to be given something as simple as a Target gift card and something to wear and something to utilize in their private lives. We give out journals and pens, and they have something to take with them when they go to a doctor's appointment or if they want to write down notes. It's just a very rewarding thing we've done for many, many years. And coincidentally, this year, the Client Network is celebrating its 25th anniversary. So we're very excited. Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you do. Liz, running that organization is really speaks to what we're all about. Thank you. Okay, any other comments from anyone else? Yes.
Thank you. I was looking over the presentations from the healthcare agency budget report to Mr. Board of Supervisors. And it just shows with this transition from MHSA to BHSA, one of the things that caught my eye, I believe is on page 14, it mentions that there won't be additional allocations for specifically the capital facilities and technology piece. So, you know, as we look at things like the Lewis Road MHRC and different, you know, physical locations for, you know, well, it could be housing, it could be, you know, an IDU, it could be all these different facilities. Does that just mean that it doesn't come from that funding stream anymore? Or does that mean that, or is that the most likely way that those funds do come? So if you could just please.
Yeah, so those categories are eliminated under BHSA. The justification is that there's the new housing bucket and there's the bond measure. Now, whether or not there's enough money to go around in that, so they're calling the bond piece as the AB 531, one of the prop one, they're calling that the bond BCHIP. So remember we had regular BCHIP, behavioral health, continuum infrastructure program. They've rebranded it as the bond BCHIP, which they've announced, the newest RFP will be released in July. The funds will be there. From what we know, based on some communication sent by the state last week, there will be $1.5 billion of that 6.8 billion allocated to cities, counties, and local jurisdictions. It is a competitive process. So much like we will do in the regular BCHIPs rounds 1 through 5, we will be likely submitting applications. And subsequent to that, we don't know what it will look like. So we don't know if we will receive a direct allocation like we would have in the old MHSA, CFTN categories, or whether we're expected to use the housing component. That is to be determined.
Thank you.
Under entering, what about the money that was during our community planning process meetings? there was like 20, I believe it was $20 million, something like that, allocated for the MHRC. What happened?
So. So that's part of that is part of the current MHSA structure, which we have continued to earmark that 20 million for the MHRC. Again, the state has said old money, old rules, no new money, new rules. So as far as we're concerned, that 20 million allocation earmark is still set. Those funds have to be expended before Prop 1 kicks in July of 26 financially. So we intend to keep that allocation there.
Great, thank you, that's really good news. All right, any other questions or comments from any of our board members? All right, next agenda item is new business. If you have any presentation requests for the new leadership, which will take place in July, please let them know after as late as after next month's, I'll say yes, after next month's elections, because we don't know if it's late elected or not. But please let them know. We have a presentation in June, and that is from BHAB, who will be presenting their final report of their assessment that they did, and we're really looking forward to that. They worked very hard and long. It's been, I believe, over a year, perhaps, in the making, and we look forward to welcoming the BHAB in June. Same situation with recognition award recommendations. If you have anyone that you'd like to have recognized from the BHAB, please let Jackie and myself know this month and next month. I would be appreciated. Under old business, we have no old business. We actually, I moved quite a few of the agenda items into their own items rather than having them listed under old business, because I didn't know how late we were going to be running, and actually we're early. So then we have contracts. Are there any comments on any of the contracts that were included in our packet? Anyone? Finally, are there any public comments from anyone in the room or from anyone online about anything? Okay. All right, we're hearing none. I'm going to do. Yes, someone else. Would you please go up to the microphone? Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to take the opportunity to embarrass Mr. Zimmerman one more time. I know next month's your last month. And I just wanted to thank you for having an open ear listening. I had an opportunity to have a private meeting with him. He gave me his undivided attention and something, I don't know, he was just listening, and I just started blabbing and telling him things I never told anybody in my life. Just like, the meeting, I was like, oh my gosh. But there's just something about him that, when he's got his listening ears on, it's just probably all the time. Yeah, I just really appreciated your time and taking the opportunity to hear what I had to say. And I hope you have a great retirement, and just thank you for your dedication and your lifetime long work to this agency, and I will miss you. Okay, thank you.
Miss, would you please identify yourself?
Oh, Sylvia Garcia. Thank
you. You're not before, okay, I did want to. Okay, well. Why don't we give Mr. Zimmerman a round of applause? Thank you, Mary, Susan, and we appreciate everything that you've done for us in all these years. Okay, and with that, I will adjourn the meeting and we will see you on June 17th. Everyone in person.